We are going to get started in just a couple of minutes. For those of you just logging in, thank you so much for joining us early. We will get started in just a couple minutes. Welcome everyone to the Q2 State of NAIFA. Here to start us off today for today's webinar is NAIFA National President, Tom Michael.
Hello, NAIFA, and welcome back to our, I think we're up and running there. Hello, NAIFA. Hope everyone's doing well, and welcome back to our second State of NAIFA for 2021. Today, I'm going to open the proceedings with a little 5 to 10,000 foot look at everything, if you don't mind. And then we'll go into our CEO, Kevin Mayhew, for some breakdown on accomplishments and specifics. And we're going to close with our Senior Vice President of Government Relations, Diane Boyle. It's a big month. It's May. And for me, for at least the last decade, May has always meant two things. Summer is right around the corner. And for at least the last decade or so, it's time to go to DC for the Congressional Conference. Well, as you know, unfortunately, we won't be convening in DC, but we have great plans. And as I mentioned, Diane Boyle will be along in a couple of minutes to discuss the exciting conference. So since we last convened, the country seems to be slowly but surely moving forward. And I hope that this finds you and your family safe and sound and looking forward to a summer of normalcy. Did we ever think we'd see the day where our conversation starts with, "Hi, how you doing?" And then it is quickly followed up with, "Are you vaccinated yet? Did you get your shots? Did you get one or did you get two?" Well, these past 15 months have often brought some changes and it seemed like an eternity. And I must admit, in moments of reflection, I shake my head. I just shake my head on what this country has gone through. But I'm confident and I am proud of the way our organizations and our communities have stood strong. They came together for their fellow man and they persevered. It has been a trying time and a sad time as we remember all those that lost loved ones. But in this industry, we are optimists and we have an eternal frenzy about returning to normal and not taking normal for granted anymore. So yes, our seas of life and society were rocky, but your NAIFA ship never wavered. In fact, it was full steam ahead. It's been said that commitment is the igniter of momentum. And my friends, NAIFA has a ton of momentum. And the reason NAIFA has momentum is because we remain committed to this rebirth of this 131-year-old organization. Ladies and gentlemen, it is again with great pride and honor that I tell you the renaissance of this organization continues and the state of NAIFA continues to soar. To refresh your memory from our first quarter message, we talked about how critical this year 3 of a new organization is, where real change occurs and it becomes visible. and when the implementation rubber hits the road, if you will. Well, thanks to many of you, we continue to be encouraged by all we see and the accomplishment of hitting multiple goals and targets. I can't tell you how exciting and proud I am to be the current captain of the majestic ship called NAIFA, to be at the helm of a great crew, your National Board of Trustees. And we are all continually amazed by the efforts and execution of our NAIFA staff, now located in 8 states. All of these are individuals who I am proud to represent, and they are just as committed as I am to achieving excellence for you. So let's put that excitement in perspective. We have just completed a 5-year plan that came to fruition, and in a sense, completion in 2020, and observed a new NAIFA come of it. We made a very bold plan. We worked the plan, and you've heard me say it, and I'm going to say it again and again. Ladies and gentlemen, this plan is working. It's working. But maybe the best part of NAIFA 2020 was it was the building block for NAIFA 2025. Because now the excitement continues as we are on to this new plan. A plan which is focused on the acceleration of our message to reach more and more insurance and financial professionals, to spread the news that NAIFA is the Financial Professional Association for individuals that want to surround themselves with other successful professionals. And these same professionals also uphold the highest ethical standards. This plan is cradled by our fellow colleagues that also get up every morning to serve their fellow Americans, protect and grow the Americans' dreams, and yet every one of these colleagues hold each other accountable. How proud I am to be affiliated with all of you. It's exciting. Anytime you learn and grow, it's exciting. And every day we're learning, and I'm happy to announce we are growing. Yes, this plan is working, and yes, the organization's brightest days are ahead of us. Why do we know it's working? Because people are coming to us with inquisition and a desire to learn. Producers are seeking us out. Prestigious carriers across this industry are coming to us, and the industry as a whole is understanding our presence and taking notice. Lastly, but probably more important than any of them, I am happy to state that thanks to the leadership of our treasurer, Brock Jolly, and our vice president of finance, Jen Cassidy, and an extremely qualified finance committee, our finances are as strong as they have been in a long, long time. You're darn right I'm enthusiastic. It gives me great joy to see the work that was once considered a pipe dream by some become effective in a myriad of ways. It's the excitement of new members and older members attending onboarding programs. It's the expanded portfolio of corporations that see the value of our unique grassroots efforts and invest in us. It's the fact that 2 weeks away, that every state is already represented for our Congressional Conference and we have 700 people signed up. It is the increased media exposure, almost asking, what are they doing over there at NAIFA? But maybe the most important metric, it's you. It's our members. More and more of you are raising their hands and asking how they can volunteer more. What can they do to make NAIFA better? And I've said it before because it's one of my favorite Churchill quotes. We make a living by what we get. We make a life by what we give. You all know NAIFA is built on a bedrock of volunteer power and enthusiasm. We embrace that volunteer effort and take great pride in our strength on Capitol Hill, in all the state houses. And we're the epitome of grassroots with 535 legislative contacts. And what I feel is its strongest trait, NAIFA is a community based on its core of concern of its fellow advisor and its fellow man and woman. Now, contrary to popular belief, I have not been around for all 131 years of NAIFA, but I have been around a long time. And I honestly believe that our members have never been more enthused to carry the banner of financial security than they are right now. And it's a good thing, because it's no secret there are increasing challenges on the horizon. And that's why the upcoming Congressional Conference is so important. As NAIFA members, we know we can't buy or acquire our way to success. And some of you may not know this one, but it was like the old E.F. Hutton brokerage tagline that went something like this: "We're doing it the old-fashioned way. We're earning it, and earning it we are." So we are going to march forward. We are going to march with enthusiasm. We are going to march with confidence. We march knowing that our work benefits not only the advisors we represent, not only the carriers we represent, but the millions of families who rely on our educated guidance. Thank you to all of you who have reached out with your input and support. It is so greatly appreciated. And even though I have so much good news, our work is not done. In fact, it's only begun. But I am confident with this strong foothold that NAIFA's future has never been brighter. So on behalf of our Board of Trustees, thank you for your dedication to this wonderful organization. And we thank you for the honor to serve. And now it's on to our CEO. In case you have not heard, since the last time we had one of these Nafalive Q1 Q2s, I'm proud to announce that Mr. Kevin Mayhew has accepted a new 5-year contract, and the Board of Trustees approved it. Kevin has become not only a CEO, but a beacon for us. He's been our rock, our voice of reason, our counsel, and a bridge to the industry. And he's one of the reasons why there's so much energy with NAIFA right now. Ladies and gentlemen, my pleasure to introduce our CEO, Mr. Kevin Mayhew.
Thank you, Mr. President. I appreciate those kind words, but more on behalf of everybody who's on this webinar today and throughout our members throughout the country. I want to thank you for your strong leadership, your optimism, your enthusiasm, your straightforward direction, the way you reach out to our members and you collaborate. It's incredible. And NAIFA is strong because of the fact that we are blessed to have you and so many other tremendously dedicated volunteers out there that are doing their best to move this big ship forward at the national level, at the state level, and at the local level, all throughout this country. And the direction that we're heading in, as you referenced during your remarks, is outlined in NAIFA's 2025 strategic plan. As Tom mentioned, our 2020 strategic plan wrapped up at the end of last year. And then we sat back as a group and started working last summer on what do we need to do to map out the next 5 years for NAIFA. And so a cross section of our NAIFA members from across the entire enterprise got together. Folks at the beginning of their career, folks that have been in this profession for decades, folks from both coasts and everywhere in between, people that serve on our chapter staffs out in the field, as well as our headquarters staff and our national board, all sat back and took a look at the landscape and said, we know where we are now. We know where we're heading. What do we need to do to make the next leap forward? And that was engendered in the 2025 strategic plan that the National Board of Trustees approved back in January. If you haven't seen it yet, the 2025 plan is available on the NAIFA website. Please take a look at it. But as you see on the screen right now, it really encompasses 3 main goals that talk about membership growth, brand amplification, and continuing to improve the member experience. But just as we did with the NAIFA 2020 plan, the 2025 plan won't go anywhere unless we actually come up with a way to implement it. And so we've done that through building out annual business implementation plans. In order to be transparent and in order to be accountable, we have posted our 2021 business implementation plan also on our website. It is publicly available so that the industry, the media, our members, our partners, and all of our stakeholders have a clear understanding as to how we operate, where we're heading, and where we're going. So if you haven't checked it out, I invite you to do so. As part of that accountability, we also put out a quarterly dashboard. And with this, we talk about the progress that we have made overall as a NAIFA enterprise. So that's called our Enterprise Accountability Report. If you haven't seen the one for Q1, it just went out about a week ago. Also, it's publicly available, so let us know if you don't have a copy. We'll be glad to get it to you. But what it does is it talks again about what we were able to do in Q1 to move the needle in implementing the new strategic plan, what obstacles and roadblocks and challenges we encountered, and what we're doing in Q2 to make sure that we're on pace. So you can clearly see what we've accomplished and where we're heading right now in this finite period of time during this quarter through our Enterprise Accountability Report. And it's just a great way, again, to be transparent and to be accountable to our members. During our last one of these State of NAIFA addresses that we held a few months ago, we sat back and talked to you about a lot of the work that we're doing over the course of the next few months. And some of it we've already started to implement, so as 2021 has already begun. We talked again about what we were going to do with our various center impact weeks. We talked about the Congressional Conference, and we talked about the Performance Plus Purpose Conference. And as you see, we've already done a lot of this, either actually implemented some of these things, and we've got some that you're going to hear a little more about in a few seconds that are going to come online in the very near future. But a lot of this has also been based upon having centers within our organization. And to remind everybody, what a center is it is a place where members can go and thought leaders can put information, and it can serve as a resource to our members that serve in a particular space. The first one of these was our Limited and Extended Care Planning Center that we launched in March of 2019, so a little more than 2 years ago. With that, we formed this center so that our NAIFA members can navigate the rapidly changing landscape in the long-term care space. And that was amplified so much more over the course of the past year with COVID-19 and all the concerns that took place regarding the care of our elderly, what was happening in nursing homes, all that kind of stuff. We wanted to make sure we were a resource to our members in that space. The LECP itself has flourished so much that not only did we hold our initial impact week for that center back in November, but we formed an advisory council that now gets together and meets on a quarterly basis. And it brings together experts in this field that help us produce content that can be useful for both our members as well as for consumers in the marketplace. Since then, we've also launched 2 additional centers, our Business Performance Center and our Talent Development Center. And both of those have also held their inaugural Impact Weeks back in March and in April. As each center holds its Impact Week, we bring together thought leaders and we have panel discussions and deep dive sessions that discuss various aspects of the center's area of work. The Business Performance Center was designed to provide information, resources, and experts to help agency owners and managers run profitable and efficient practices. And it held its inaugural Impact Week, March 23rd through the 25th. Can you believe it? We had over 570 people participate in the Impact Week for the Business Performance Center. We want to thank all of the founding sponsors that helped make the Business Performance Center possible. And particularly, we want to thank our Advanced Practices track, where our partners at the Society of Financial Services Professionals helped us by bringing in top speakers, including their current president of FSP, Kathleen Bilderback. So we want to thank her, and we want to thank all of FSP for their strong contributions to our Advanced Practices Symposia, as well as what we did during our Business Performance Center Impact Week. Our Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Center also is part of our Talent Development Center. And we held our initial DEI Impact Week this past April. With it, we had over 375 people participate in our DEI Impact Week. When you think about it, NAIFA has always been, or at least for the past 6 years, has been a leader in the DEI space. We started holding our initial DEI symposia, and we've done that each year in conjunction with the Congressional Conference. We've held several in conjunction with our Performance Plus Purpose Conference. And then this year was a special Impact Week that was held back April 6th through the 8th. Again, it was a great opportunity to hear from some industry leaders, including Ohio National CEO Barbara Turner. We talked about the importance of advocacy through our ACLI government relations experts with Joyce Meyer, Kimberly Ross, Laurel Jackson. And then we also learned about how underserved markets are impacted and the various crises that are going on now with COVID-19 and what's happening in the long-term care space. And Chris Gandy from Chicagoland and a member of our board of trustees presented during that. And then we also had founder and CEO of the Midwest Legacy Group, and I'm sorry, that's Chris. We also had Michelle Prather of One America present. So it's been fantastic to bring in all these outside experts to help, again, provide rich content for NAIFA members that are interested in learning more about what's going on in any audience, whether it be DEI or, again, what we did through our various other centers. And so our industry is getting stronger because we are all becoming more diverse, we are becoming more inclusive, we're serving more niche communities, but also on top of it, NAIFA is making sure we've got experts available to provide us input and insight and help steer our direction, making sure we're content rich. And so every advisor can do her or his practice even better than before. Our membership promise also is that we will advocate, we will educate, and we will differentiate you. We've been hard at work updating our professional development offerings that now include an online Leadership and Life Institute course, a new exam prep course for our Life and Annuity Certified Professional, LACP certification, as well as planning for our annual Performance Plus Purpose Conference that'll be held virtually this August. If you're looking to improve yourself over the summer, jot down June 15th, because June 15th is the absolute deadline if you want to register to take the LACP exam, which is being offered again in July. For those of you that do work in the life and annuity space, which is probably most of you, I encourage you to look at LACP. It is a fully accredited certification, one of only 2 that are listed on FINRA's list of designations and certifications that's actually accredited. I encourage you to take a look at it. Many of our companies have embraced it, have put it on their approved list, and several of the companies are also offering reimbursements for people that are affiliated with them that earn the LACP designation. See if your company has approved it and is providing some reimbursement, but regardless, I would encourage you to consider taking the LACP exam. But again, you've got to register. You want to take it during the July test window by June 15th. If you want more information about that and also want to see which companies have approved the LACP for use, you can go to TDC, that's Talent Development Center, tdc.naifa.org/LACP. And as promised during our last quarterly call, NAIFA has launched a new and improved members-only benefit called Nafalive, which serves as our monthly membership call and features some incredible top-notch speakers that are focused on personal performance, helping you as an advisor do your job even better. We've also launched our National Speakers Bureau, which can provide speakers to go and speak at a chapter meeting and provide, again, rich content for chapter meetings. And we also have a new online private members community that we call NAIFA Connect. Check them all out. They're great resources available for all of our chapters and for our members from coast to coast. And there's no stronger benefit of being a member than you as an individual being recognized, again, for being a dedicated professional that subscribes to a code of ethics and does good stuff. So hopefully you've been noticing about the fact that we're doing more and more to spotlight our members and the great work that they do. But we've also overhauled our entire membership awards programs. And I'm happy to announce that all of our membership awards, the national level ones, will be given out in person at our National Leadership Conference to be held in Washington, D.C., December 6th through the 8th. We hope you can join us for that. Be a great opportunity for us to finally get together and talk to each other in real time and actually be in the same room with each other at our National Leadership Conference again, December 6th through the 8th. So please mark that on your calendar. And finally, I'm also really proud to announce that we are committed to the fiscal management and fiscal responsibility of our organization, but also making sure that our members are fully informed as to what's happening at all times. And we do that through a variety of ways, mainly digital, through emails and blogs and things that are available online. But I'm pleased to announce that we have brought back the print edition of Advisor Today. Many of you all probably already received it. It started arriving in mailboxes the past few days and will for the next few days, depending on where you are on the postal route. But again, Advisor Today will be published 3 times a year in print version. And in addition to that, we still have the digital version available for you to peruse at your convenience. And it's a great way to talk again about the great work that NAIFA members do from coast to coast, helping ensure financial literacy and financial security for Main Street Americans and businesses all across this country. So we're proud to see AT back in print. And by the way, the look and design of the publication has been overhauled as well. But I think you've heard me talk enough, and I think it's time to really hear from an absolute treasure for the industry, and that's our Senior Vice President of Government Relations, Diane Boyle, who can give us an update on what's going on in the government relations space. Diane?
Thanks, Kevin. Appreciate it. And thank you all for tuning in. On the advocacy front, the industry relies on NAIFA to be those storytellers, and we don't disappoint. Let's go to the next slide. I don't think anybody wants to look at me. We are those storytellers, and we ensure and have ensured for the industry that the voice of Main Street is represented. And you do that. You provide them with that voice. As an industry, we come together, the companies bring different value to the policy debate that we have with members of Congress, that we have with state legislators, that we have with insurance commissioners or the governors. And that can be an economic, footprint in the state. It can be that they have headquarters that are actually present in one of those districts. But NAIFA has members in every congressional district. We have members in 87% of the state legislative districts. We are in every community. And when we go, the industry relies on us to bring that community aspect to the policy debate. And that's what we do. As I said a minute ago, NAIFA doesn't disappoint. We've ensured that a diverse voice of Main Street was represented at the NAIC. They had a working group where they were talking about diversity and inclusion initiatives and asked NAIFA to present, and we did. And we shared our thoughts and were able to represent there. On the state side of things, very much like everything else, the state capitals are shut down for the most part. So a number of our meetings are virtual. We've had nearly a dozen virtual legislative action days, and they've been phenomenal. We've had legislators that actually come in and meet us instead of us going to them. But we've had conversations. I've been, honored to participate in a couple of them. Some of them I haven't been, but the stories come back and the messages that you're sharing your voice. We're talking to legislators. We haven't lost our focus. Advocacy is a numbers game. You've got to get the numbers up. You have to have the people. And that's why the industry relies so heavily on NAIFA, because we do have that presence in every community. We've testified. So not only is it developing the relationships and having the presence in the district, it's making sure that you have the meetings. It's making sure that we talk about our issues. We've had a dozen members. Kevin was talking about how we spotlight some of our members and the work that they're doing. We've testified in virtual hearings. Some of them actually we were able to get in person, and that was interesting too, to see people masked and behind shields. But we got our message across. We've learned to be nimble. We've learned to pivot. We've learned to still share and bring that value that the industry relies on us. And let me rephrase that, relies on you to provide. There's only so much that we can do as professional lobbyists. It really is the Main Street member that's working with clients that are those members' constituents that really matter. We're going a step further. As I said, the numbers game matters. There's a grassroots training course that we put together, and that will be debuted during our Congressional Conference on May 25th, 26th, because it's not good enough to have just the members in our association. We want to develop those relationships. And how do you develop those relationships? And so we put together what's actually a really fun training course that says, hey, I don't actually know my member of Congress. I don't know my state legislator. How do I do that? And so this course kind of walks you through it. And it goes all the way from how do you meet your legislators to how do you run for office? Because believe it or not, we have NAIFA members across the country in public office, from county boards to US Senate. NAIFA members are there. And so this course will walk you through some of those things. Let's talk a little bit now, let's shift gears and talk about what is our presence in Congress. We had these elections, we have this new Congress, means we have all these new faces. And you know what? We're still doing pretty good. We have 83% of the new Congress with a NAIFA member who has a relationship with that member of Congress. That gives us that direct communication that's so important. The states that I have here, and I like to think of things in very easy terms, these are the good states. These states have 100% of their state congressional delegation identified and paired up with a NAIFA member who has a relationship with that member of Congress. And we've actually added a state as of last night, although Missouri has to get their information into me before your name goes up on the good board. But Missouri should also be added to this list as having all of their members of Congress paired up with a NAIFA member, so that when an issue pops, we can go to those members and say, hey, Tom, you know what? In California, we have an issue and I need you to reach out to your senator and get this message. And I know that you guys are close because you shared with me that you guys went to college together, or that your kids played Little League together, or that you saw him during the Congressional Conference and he started to call you with information and ask you questions about different policy initiatives. That's what this program is about. And if you haven't reported your relationship, then please do. And you can do so by going to the naifa.org/advocate. That will get you to our Advocacy Action Center. You do have to log in, but it's super easy. All you need is your email address, and that'll get you through. You can tell us who you know. Even if you're in one of these good states, we can never have enough. Go, tell us who you know. It'll also show your state elected officials, and you can report those relationships too. Really impactful because we've seen the states popping up more and more with legislative issues that we need to advocate on. So if you'll tell us who you know, that would be fantastic. Let's go ahead and shift gears a little bit. Talk about what's going on actually in Congress. We know that there's infrastructure that's being proposed. You've heard about it in Main Street media. And what does that mean for us? Well, primarily it's the tax challenges that are come back that would be of interest to our industry. And so the infrastructure plan, if you will, the administration put out two-pronged. One is the American Jobs Plan, and that is primarily your traditional infrastructure, roads, bridges, broadband expansion. The American Families Plan goes into what the president has called the human infrastructure, if you will. Now, here are the challenges. If you look at the American Jobs Plan, that purely infrastructure, traditionally defined, the president came out with a plan that's $2.3 trillion. The Republicans have countered with something somewhere between 300 and 800 billion. That's a big disparity to sort of bridge, no pun intended on the infrastructure there. But there's a big disparity. So how does that move through Congress? Does that ultimately become part of reconciliation where the Republicans are no longer part of the conversation and it's being moved through with just Democrat support? The numbers aren't there. That becomes really challenging too. The way that they're looking at paying for that portion of the infrastructure bill, at least as planned by the administration, is through an increase in the corporate taxes. But then you get dynamics like the state and local tax deduction. So even if you were to put it in a purely Democratic proposal using reconciliation, and the PRO Act that was up there would then fall off because it won't meet the reconciliation instructions, you're going to start peeling off the Democrat support. So it's not necessarily this smooth sailing, even if it is done in a partisan manner. So there's still conversations about, can we get this done in a bipartisan manner? And the answer is maybe. So we'll see. If it's maybe, then what are some of the other pay-fors? Do you bring in other tax challenges to our industry? And the answer is probably so. So we need to make sure that we stay on top of that. And we're talking about the value that this industry brings to consumers and that we shouldn't be the source of payment for other plans. On the American Family Plan, you can see where some of the hits lie. Even more difficult here because if you look at, is there going to be any bipartisan here? The Republicans have not moved at all to say that this is something that they're willing to fund. And so if you go from an $800 billion spend, I don't know how you get the nearly $4 trillion gap closed. So those are sort of our challenges on the infrastructure, the tax challenges. Talk about during Congressional Conference. And let's go to the next issue that we're talking about, which is the PRO Act. So the PRO Act is, as you know, has passed the House. It's something that originated in California, and we were able to get a carve out that said, you know what, this doesn't fit, this reclassification of 1099 independent contractors into an employee status doesn't really fit our industry. We have small business owners who actually want to be small business owners, who want to be treated as independent contractors. So we've looked for a similar carve-out in Congress. It was not included in the House passed version. We'll see if it goes to the Senate. They're looking, it's a high priority for labor to get this pushed through. So the pressure is enormous on that side to get the PRO Act enacted. We've also seen Senator Wyden, who chairs the Senate Finance Committee, and introduce a discussion draft, so it's not quite a proposal yet, on unemployment insurance. And it would apply that same ABC test that's problematic within the PRO Act. And to simplify it, the B part of the test says that if you're to remain an independent contractor, you have to be providing a service that is unrelated to the service of the provider. And I don't know how you provide financial services from an insurance company or a financial institution and say that they're unrelated services. And so we're going to fail that test. That's the challenge. It then creates a legal uncertainty of who is an employee, who is an independent contractor. That's where the problem lies. The DOL recently pulled back an independent contractor ruling that had been put in place under the prior administration, hadn't gone into effect yet. They pulled it. We anticipate that that means that the Department of Labor is going to be looking at that ABC test to be put in place again. Again, the B is what's problematic for us, still going to be problematic for us. So we'll talk about that during Congressional Conference as well. Go to the next issue, because there are going to be 3 issues that we talk about during Congressional Conference, is Secure 2.0. This is where I get into good news. So the good news is this is on retirement security. There are 42 different provisions. I'm not going to go through all of those today, but they're largely beneficial to retirement savings. It makes it easier for small employers to set up plans for their employees. It passed with overwhelmingly bipartisan support from the Ways and Means Committee. It's ready for a full House vote. We expect that we'll have similar bipartisan support in the Senate, and we'll be talking about that as well when we come. I guess we don't actually come to town, but when we participate in the Congressional Conference on May 25th and 26th. So let's talk about the Congressional Conference a little bit. They said it's the 25th and 26th of this month, exactly 2 weeks away. So how fun for us. And while I am disappointed that we're not going to be walking around those marble clad buildings, it drops it down a notch. The excitement when you're I like being in those buildings, whether you guys are here or not, but when the NAIFA members come to town and they're participating in those meetings, it's one of my favorite times of year. So I can't sit here and say that I'm not disappointed that we're not in person, but I think we've all felt that way from time to time with this pandemic. But I am excited about the program. The program is going to be fantastic. We have Senator Scott, who is a former NAIFA member. So when I talked about that grassroots program, you know what? Could be you. If you get the bug, you can run for office as well. He moved through county office to the House in South Carolina. He represented in the House of Representatives, sat on the Ways and Means Committee for just a few days and was then appointed to the Senate and has run for that seat as well. So we'll hear from Senator Tim Scott. We'll hear from Representative Stephanie Murphy, who sits on the Ways and Means Committee, has jurisdiction over our issues as well. We'll hear from our legislative panel, as you all know. We'll hear from company representatives. We'll hear from industry representatives. And then on the 26th, you'll have an opportunity to meet with your senators, and we'll line up those meetings. You don't need to do that. You need to register for the conference as a whole, but we'll put NAIFA members in touch with their senators to have those meetings. We'll also have activities for you to engage with your House member and writing to them, making sure that they're aware of what issues are of importance to us and that we get those covered. It's going to be fantastic. As Tom said, we're thrilled that we've already have, every state represented with attendees. We expect that to grow. If you haven't registered, please do so. It's going to be an exciting time. We will remind you that on May 18th, we have a tax challenges webinar where we'll go through some of the tax challenges in a little more depth to give you that background, because it will be one of our issues. As I said, we'll talk about tax challenges, we'll talk about the PRO Act, and we'll talk about retirement security. It's going to be a fantastic time. Register. If you are registered, invite a colleague to join you. Let them get a taste of NAIFA. As I said, NAIFA doesn't disappoint. Our biggest advocate, Mr. Tom Michael, back over to you. You're muted, Mr. President.
All right. I think I'm up and running now. Thank you, Kevin, and thank you, Diane. Kevin, we're so grateful for your leadership, friendship, and commitment to our cause. And Diane, to you and your team, you amaze us not only in the month of May, but all year long. Your attention to detail and the way you let us volunteers assist in our joint goals and really do make it a grassroots effort is something that all of us members are so grateful for. So we are really looking forward to the conference in just 2 weeks. I'm asking all of you to try and recruit one new person to this conference. Yes, 700 is great, but why not double it in the last 2 weeks? You heard Diane. Advocacy is a game of numbers. A person doesn't even have to be a member this year, but after observation of this, they probably will be. Maybe it's someone who's sitting on the fence about this advocacy thing. Well, what a great way to test the waters. Once you get I think most of you know that once you get a taste of making a difference in the advocacy arena, you generally want a little bit more. In addition, an ask for your IFA PAC committee. As most of you know, a large source of our IFA PAC contributions occur when we are in person. Well, due to our friend COVID, we haven't had a lot of in-person events. So I'm asking you to contribute so that we can turn up NAIFA's volume control on Capitol Hill. Alone, we can do a little. Together, we can do so much. The more we as an industry come together, the more positive our influence will be. We are partner friendly. Help us expand our footprint. Volunteers like you don't always have a lot of time, but you certainly have the heart. And that heart is what makes a difference. I thank you for your time today. We thank you for your dedication to this most worthy cause,